Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Legends of Sport podcast. I'm your host, Andy Bernstein. We are super excited to bring this classic episode to all of you from season 3 with the legendary Sue Bird. Sue and I recorded this episode at the beginning of the pandemic in April 2020. At that time, the world was unsure if there would be an Olympics in Tokyo in 2020, which were later postponed to the summer of 2021. At that Olympics, Sue won her 5th gold medal, an amazing feat she shares with her friend and former UConn teammate Diana Taurasi. In fact, they're the only Olympians to have accomplished that. When we spoke in 2020, Sue was unsure if she would return for a 19th season in the WNBA, all spent with the Seattle Storm. Since that time, Sue announced she will be back, and we all look forward to seeing her on the court for the upcoming 2022 WNBA season. I first met Sue when she was 11 years old and starring in the 11 and under AAU tournament I was assigned to shoot for Sports Illustrated for Kids. I pull out those photos from time to time just to embarrass her. She was amazing then, and she's amazing now. Sue's on-court accolades are out of this world. Here are her greatest hits: 2 NCAA championships, 4 FIBA World Cups, 5 EuroLeague championships, 5 Olympic gold medals, 4 WNBA championships, and more and more and more. Sue was voted as one of the WNBA's top 15 players of all time in 2011, a member of the WNBA's 20 at 20 and the W25, one of the league's top 25 players of all time. That was voted in 2021. Sue is a vocal advocate for social justice, pay equity, and is involved in many, many charitable causes. She also shared one of the greatest Kobe stories I've ever heard from any guest on this podcast. Sue is the real deal, truly the GOAT, on and off the court, and I am so grateful to call her my friend for so many years. Can't wait for her last dance in the WNBA this season. So please enjoy this classic episode with the great Sue Bird. And as always, I'll see you on the backside. So hi, Sue Bird. How are you? Good to see you.
Hi. Yeah, good to see you too.
Good. So you guys are in Connecticut right now and making the best of it. Yeah. So
yeah, just like everybody else.
I hear you. And how what are you guys doing this series that it's called Wind Down or something? What's it called that you're doing?
No, yeah, we actually it started out as Wind Down, but then we realized a lot of people had that name, so we changed it up to A Touch More.
Right.
So we get on every Saturday night and just kind of let the shenanigans happen, you know.
That's awesome. I saw you with Diana, and that was great.
Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah,
But I have to take exception to you claiming that UConn is the drinking capital of college, because I went to UMass. I almost went to UConn. I'm a Brooklyn guy. I'm a Brooklyn guy. I ended up at UMass. I probably should have gone to UConn because I think I would have had a different experience. But
UMass is all right. I have a couple of friends who went there. Yeah, we used to have the men's teams used to play. What was it called? Like the U rivalry or something. It had like a name to it.
I don't know. When I was there, it was like the prehistoric era, and it was we were like a Division 1A school. Although Dr. J came from there, you know. So, but UMass was an agricultural school, so we played in a gym that had a dirt floor. You know, they put the basketball floor on top of it. It was a nightmare. Anyway, so got to ask you: are you watching The Last Dance? You and Megan?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think?
I'm loving it. I mean, I think everybody is probably loving it. For me, what's been fun is, you know, like Jordan, in terms of that time period, like, you know, 91, 92, I'm like 10, 11 years old. So I like remember some stuff. But the whole like 96, 97, 98, I was like 16, 17, 18. And I'm actually shocked at what I don't remember. Like, I feel like a teenager, a basketball fan, should remember all of this stuff. I don't remember Phil Jackson essentially being fired, if you will, prior to the 98 season. Yeah. Just like little stuff like that I don't remember. So it's been fun because obviously I know the whole story, but it's been cool to like get reminded on all the little details.
Yeah, because you were, correct me if I'm wrong, a senior in high school that season, right? The 97, 98 season. And I was there too, and I can't remember anything either. that's because of
You probably have too many memories, honestly.
my advanced age. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of stuff I didn't know. I mean, the fact that Jerry Krause signed Phil to that 1 year, he said you can go 82 and
Yeah.
0, but you're not coming back.
That's wild.
That's
Like when
just
you think about
unbelievable.
it.
Yeah.
I know. I
Um,
have to, it's like if I could get Michael Jordan alone,
yeah.
I would be like, because I feel like nowadays athletes, we
Hmm.
have this like blueprint, right? Like Michael Jordan totally, especially an NBA guy, like he
Hmm.
laid that. It's like 6 championships, 6 rings
Yeah.
means something. It's like, it's
Right.
why Kobe always put up his number 5.
Yeah.
It's why
Yeah.
LeBron hangs his hat on his rings. But 6 meant something. And I'm like, Jordan, like
Hmm.
Michael, now that
Hmm.
you know that 6 is kind of like this barometer, are you regretful that you like went into retirement and missed out on some years? Are you regretful that you didn't stay with the Bulls? Like, what if you
Yeah.
could have gotten 7, 8, 9? That's like the one question I would love to ask him.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that to Shaq and Kobe too. I mean, if they had
That's
stayed
true. That's
together,
true.
God knows how many they would have won. But
That's true.
who did you pattern your game after? Women or men? Because
Yeah.
when you came in, I mean, obviously the WNBA had started, so you had
Hmm.
that to aspire to, and you had women role models.
Hmm.
But there were guys too, I'm sure, because I can think of 5 or 6 point guards off the top of my head that you remind me of.
Yeah, so it's interesting because growing up, to your point, there wasn't a WNBA yet.
Hmm.
So you could like catch a college game every now and then, but that was really only in the Final Four.
Right.
So I remember I was a huge Knicks fan growing up, and like I believe me, I didn't model my game after this guy, but Kenny Skywalker was like my guy. Like
Really?
loved him. Yeah, because I don't know, I was a little kid. He had a flat
Okay.
top. He was like flying through the air. Loved him.
Right.
Then as
Right.
then as I got a little older, now we're talking like high school,
Yeah.
2 things happened. One, I became a really big fan of Mike Bibby. It actually
Okay.
is not in this order. That came second. But
Yeah.
the other thing that happened, and it was probably around 1995, 96, when the US Olympic team for women was like going to Atlanta. It was like a
Hmm.
big thing. And that was the first time I saw Jen Azey play.
Oh. Yeah.
So yeah, there's my dad actually sat me down and like made me watch a documentary that was done on Stanford. So that was probably the actual first time, but
Huh.
seeing her like in real life playing, and I was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, like we kind of look alike. Like that could be me one day.
Yeah. Right.
So I
Huh.
didn't necessarily like model my game, but it
Yeah.
was definitely, she kind of gave me the whole like, if you see it, you can be it type of vibe. She
Mm-hmm.
gave me that.
Wow, that's it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And on the men's side, I mean, Isaiah,
Mike Bibby for
Magic,
life. Mike Bibby's
Yeah,
my favorite
yeah.
player. Yeah.
I love Mike Bibby. I miss Mike Bibby. He was
Yeah.
so much
He
fun
was
to
good.
shoot. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so you guys are in Connecticut. From what I guess I saw, that you guys don't have a hoop where you are.
No.
So
Nope.
you're keeping busy with the home court app, right? And that,
Yeah.
well, that's
Yeah. I've
cool.
actually yeah, it's definitely like an app kind of kid centric,
Hmm.
especially the ball handling stuff. It's almost like
Yeah.
you're in a live video game.
Yeah.
But the woman I work with, like my sports coach, she
Hmm.
basically has like set me up. So I'll do a ball handling workout, and then I'll do some
Hmm.
medicine ball work, and then I go back, or I'll do
Right.
like 3 in a row for the cardio. It's actually really
Hmm.
hard. It's like not a joke.
Yeah.
So that's
Right.
been like my one basketball outlet.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be tough for you. I mean, you've had other disruptions in your career, injuries. I mean, I didn't know that you
Hmm.
had an ACL injury actually when you were a
Yeah.
freshman. Busted noses, knee stuff. Um, I mean, it's a kind of a crazy, silly question, but how is this disruption different than those other times when you had to just not
um,
sit out?
right. So I'll say it's okay. So sadly, I guess it's
Hmm.
funny. I either have like a major injury where I'm out for a very long time, or I
Hmm.
don't have anything.
Yeah.
So I've kind of like, so I don't know, like unfortunately, I've had a bunch
Mhm.
of surgeries, and
Yeah.
when you get older and you've been through it, you kind of know
Mhm.
what to expect.
Yeah.
So what's different about this is none of us know what to expect. We have
Yeah.
no idea. There's no one, even when I tore my ACL, it was unknown in that moment because it was my first major injury, but I had a teammate who had done it. I had other people who had done it, and they could
Right.
like, hey, by month 1's going to feel like this, and month 2 will feel like that, and by month 6, it's like nobody knows what to tell any of us.
Yeah.
So it's this whole unknown aspect that makes this way
Hmm.
more difficult from an athlete standpoint.
Yeah. And you're an older player, and it
Yeah.
takes, you were ramping up for the season, as you said, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden, boom, the rug is pulled out.
I
Yeah.
mean, what do you think? You think there's going to be a season? I mean, you don't know. I
I
don't
mean,
know. But what do you think?
right. Nobody
Yeah.
knows.
Yeah.
I mean, my hope is that come the later parts of the summer, we can
Hmm.
have some sort of something.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a full season, maybe like they put together some sort of tournament where we
Yeah.
can do something.
Yeah.
I think it would be same for NBA, same for
Yeah.
really all the sports leagues.
Yeah.
Anything that can get on TV right now would be a huge morale booster. So
Yeah.
if they can make it happen, great. But yeah, to your point, I was ramping up, then I had to like bring it on back.
Yeah. No, I
And
hear
now I'm
you.
just kind of like in this hovering place.
Yeah. And of course the Olympics. I mean,
Yeah.
would it be an unprecedented fifth Olympics? I mean, I know Therese Edwards had four, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so she has five.
She has
The
five.
the
Okay.
subtle difference is for it would be myself, Diana. We
Yeah.
would be getting, if we won, it would be our fifth gold medal, whereas
Wow.
Teresa has four gold medals. I know, it's like
Unbelievable.
wild to even
Did
think
you?
about. If you would have told me this when I was like, I don't know, 15, I would have called you
Yeah. Well, let's turn to that for a second here.
crazy.
Our history goes back a long way.
Yeah,
All right.
way
And
back.
I'm going to embarrass you, and this was coming, but
Fair.
but I have to do it. I mean, this is where we first met. Was at this event.
Oh my God.
Right.
I
So
know.
this was the 1992 AAU National Girls 11 and Under Championships in Salt Lake City, right?
Uh-huh. Yep.
And I'm not sure if you know the whole story on this, but the way this all came down for me, that I was
Uh-huh.
assigned by Sports Illustrated for kids to go to this tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meet the writer, and then the
Okay.
writer and I would try to embed ourselves with what he felt, because he was there a day or two before, what he felt was the best team there, right? So I
Okay.
get there, I meet the writer, and before I even open my mouth, he goes, "It's a no-brainer. Okay, we got to go with this team. They got the best player out there. Name is Sue Bird. You're not going to believe it." And so I embedded myself, and I met your coach, who I forgot his name, what his name was.
Yeah, Mr. McGlynn, John McGlynn.
Yeah, I love how you call him
Yeah,
Mister still.
I
And
know.
and he was
Just
he
came
was
out.
he was super. He was just so welcoming for me. And anyway, I had a lot of fun doing it. And
Oh no,
I-
we were all pumped.
yeah,
They were like, "Hey, so Sports Illustrated for Kids is gonna follow you guys, take some pictures." We were like, "What?" We
yeah.
were so pumped.
That was so crazy. So I waited a long time, I think, to show you these photos. And
Yeah.
I remember you were like, I don't know, 5-10 years into your WNBA career. You were shooting around. I don't know if you remember this, but you're at a Sparks game at Staples Center, and you're shooting around. And I approached you, which I never do with players, because I know you guys
Hmm.
are in your zone. And you came over as gracious as you are, and I pulled out these pictures on my phone, and you looked at me and
I
said,
remember.
you said, "You were the guy?"
I remember.
That
It's
was
so funny.
hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
No, that's like a great memory for me as a little
yeah.
kid.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Sue, I have an 11-year-old now, and her name
Oh,
is Mimi, and she hoops.
yeah.
It's
Nice.
not her main thing, but she played for a couple of
She
years.
gets in there.
So
Okay.
she gave me a question. She wanted me to ask you. Okay. She wants to
Okay.
know, and she's familiar with your career. She's seen you in the Storm play maybe 4 or 5 times over the years since she was really
Okay.
little. We'd make these great pilgrimages to Staples Center, where all the parents would bring, mostly girls actually, but
Hmm.
some boys of her age, since I don't know, and my older kids too are now in their 20s. We used to go, even
Wow.
back to the Forum, but and I'd be working, and come over
Yeah.
and take a big group picture. Um, but Mimi wants to know, where does your competitive spirit come from?
Good question, Mimi. There's part of it that was, I think I was just born with it.
Uh-huh.
Like my family has all kinds of stories where, as a little kid, how it kind of, showed itself was I was
Mm-hmm.
such a sore loser. I mean, I was like the sorest of the sore losers. There's like this one story. I was on a track team. I'm probably
Yeah.
like, I don't even know, 6, 7, very young.
All right.
And it was a relay. I was the fourth leg.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time, my teammate passed me the baton, I look up and everybody was already ahead of me. I could not catch them. We were so far behind. I took the
Yeah.
baton, I threw it on the ground, I walked off. Like there was I always had like something inside of me.
Wow.
Then there's stories of like cheating in like
Yeah.
games of like Candyland, stuff like that.
Wow.
So I think it was just always a part of me. But then
Yeah.
as I got older,
Mm-hmm.
I remember my parents like really kind of helped me with the sore loser part and how to like channel that.
Uh-huh.
So those were like early conversations we had. And then
Yeah.
once I found like high level competitive sports,
Mm-hmm.
that was it. I could just put it all into that, and from there you learn how to use it to your advantage, not throw
Yeah.
batons on the floor.
Right. The fire still burns, right? I mean, you still got it.
It burns different. It burns different, but it burns.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I want to talk about your career. Obviously, I'm not going to go into all the accolades because we'd use up all our time, but and all your accomplishments, and I'll do that in the intro after we're done. But it's safe to say you've had an absolutely remarkable career, and I don't know if you know anything really about Legends of Sport, but when we started this platform, a lot of discussion between me and my partners was about what is the criteria that makes a person a legend of sport, right? And we went back and forth a lot, and pretty much decided the person has to be retired and probably have attained their Hall of Fame of whatever sport they're in. And it's across the board of all sports, right? But there were a few exceptions, and we like to call them active legends. All right. So there's Tom Brady, there's Serena Williams, there's Tiger Woods, there's Roger Federer, and there's you.
Hey, that's good company.
Right. So welcome to the group, because it's an honor really for me to be talking to you and in the spirit of Legends of Sport. So you still got a lot of work to do. You got to probably win another championship. You got to win another gold medal, right?
Of course, yeah.
And I read that you said recently that you're trying not to beat Father Time. You're just trying to tie him. What is that? What does that mean?
What does that mean? Well, it's interesting. Ever since I turned 30, I feel like, which is not like now that I'm 39, like knocking on the door of 40, it's kind of laughable. But ever since I turned 30, the question's been like, how much longer do you want to play? How long can you keep doing this? And it's crazy to think about.
Right.
So then, all of a sudden I'm 35, I'm 36, I'm 37, and you're still getting the question. But at that point, I would say around 36 is when it really started to be like, okay, how much longer do I want to play?
Right.
And very quickly I realized that it mostly had to do with my health. It's not like, it's not like athletes go out there and they get worse all of a sudden.
Right.
You don't like forget how to play the game. You just physically can't get to the places you used to be able to get to and do the things you used to be able to do. So you either have to reinvent yourself or just try to keep your body at a good. So when I realized health was going to be the number one, and people always say, oh, athletes, you can't beat Father Time, which you probably can't at some point. At some point, and I joke 40 is the new 30, so I'm not trying to put this on anyone, but at some point it does catch up. So I'm just saying, I'm actually not trying to beat him. I'm not trying to get back to where I was at 30.
Right.
I'm just trying to stay the same for like from here for like maybe another, who knows, year or two.
Right.
I can't go backwards. I am trying to go forwards either. So I'm just trying to stay where I am.
Yeah, I hear you. You also said something very interesting when you were talking about your young teammates on the Storm a couple of years ago, and you said, I want to be a leader who shows them how to be great, end quote. It's very Mamba-esque, by the way, because I remember Kobe saying the same thing when he had a young team, towards the end of his career. How do you see your role on the team now? You are the wily veteran. I mean, you're the oldest player in the WNBA. I hate to rub that in, but you are.
No, it's fine. Proud.
It's all right. I'm the oldest photographer in the NBA.
There you go. So. Yeah, I guess the way I see myself is, again, trying to stay at a high level personally. Like I'm not on the team just to be, the veteran with the advice.
Right.
And who, I still want to be like someone who's performing, someone who's out there with these players. But I just think about when I was their age and, the way the Storm kind of evolved, myself and Lauren Jackson, we were like that 1-2 punch for all these years. We never really had, don't get me wrong, we had players older than us on the team, but not that had experienced what we had experienced. So I look at Stewie and I look at Jewel and I'm like, wow, like if I could just give them all the things I've learned, all the experience. Because at the end of the day, the one thing you can't speed up is experience.
Right.
But if you can have someone who's kind of like shedding light it's on them to like make it their own and do it their own way. I encourage that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also like to kind of help them along and speed up the process if I can.
Right, right. And you know, had an opportunity to take your game elsewhere at some point, right?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
decided to stay in Seattle. I know it was, you know, you went back and forth on that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about Seattle? Because it's one of my favorite cities, not only in the WNBA and the NBA, but in the world, honestly. And we have very good friends up there, and we try to get up there. And I miss going up there during the NBA season. And the NBA, the WNBA doesn't travel me unless there's a championship. So I don't get up there, you know, unless you guys are in it. So, you know, the Sonics left in what, 2008, right? And
Yep.
and it was so great when Kevin Durant had the shout out to you guys, you know, that,
Yeah.
what did he say?
Yeah.
Thanks to the Storm for like holding the fort or
Yeah,
something.
holding it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was wonderful. But did you feel an extra burden? I mean, it's a burden enough to, you know, to be at the level you're at and win championships. But now you know, longtime NBA team is gone, and there's a void there. How did you see that whole thing?
Truthfully, I never felt as if it was a burden. Um, you know, I never felt competitive in that way with the Sonics, even when they were there. So when they were gone, it wasn't all of a sudden like, oh, now we have to. No, you're just trying to, you know, win games and win championships and go from there. But it is nice, like when Katie shouted us out, that was very, very cool of him. It does feel good to continue to represent, you know, the city of Seattle and kind of like professional basketball, because man, the one thing I'll say is like, and I'm from New York, so I'm not saying this lightly. It's like the basketball community in Seattle is beyond anything I've ever experienced. It's just I think it's because it's like a big city, but it's small in the grand scheme. So it's big in that, and so there's a lot of players that have come out, but it's small. So it's like everybody knows everybody and everybody supports everybody. I mean, you could rattle off names, whether it's like Jamal Crawford, down to like even someone like Kelsey Plum, who's not even from Seattle, but because she went to UW, she's a lifer. So I think we all kind of feel that way, and it's nice to represent that community.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I had a chat with Gary Payton on the podcast, and he's really, really sad. I mean, that the Sonics left, because he said, you know what, my legacy's been erased, and like it never happened. I said, well, not really, because
I know. I'm like, Gary, we all remember.
Yeah.
But I totally feel him. I totally, because like when the Sonics got sold, when all the talks were happening, I should say, of the Sonics being sold, we would have been a package deal. We were going with them.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's the same. Was the same ownership back then?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
So Clay Bennett bought the Sonics and the Storm. And obviously he's the one that ended up moving to Oklahoma, but they played for a year. So I guess technically we played a season. I don't know, actually. That's a good question, but I think we technically played one season under the Clay Bennett ownership. Wow. Maybe not. Maybe it was like in the middle, weird gray area. But yeah, so when he was going to Oklahoma, we had 4 women step up and buy the team to keep them in Seattle.
Yeah,
that's how that happened.
Really?
But anyway, back to Gary. Yeah, so back to Gary, like we all remember, but I totally get it. Had the Storm gone, I actually vividly remember, because I would have been a free agent that year, and I was like, well, I'm not going to Oklahoma. Like, this is my team. Like, I don't
No
want to leave
offense to our friends in Oklahoma, but
No, it wasn't about them. It was
No,
more
I know.
like, no, Seattle's my team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I do. I mean, hopefully the Sonics come back, and I know the city kept the name.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. The name and the banners, those
Yeah.
are ours.
No, it would be great. I think the city deserves it. I mean, they're going to have an NHL team, right? So at some point. So, you know, I find it really interesting that you and Megan are 2 of these top athletes in your sport, and you play basically in the same city. You know, she's down I-5 in Tacoma, and you're up in Seattle, and your seasons kind of overlap, right? But how do you guys find time to like even go to each other's games and stuff and support each other? Because she's doing her thing, you know, and I mean, you travel more than she does, I would think. So how does that work?
Yeah. So the Tacoma thing is actually only a year old. So for the first, I guess 2 summers of us dating, does that make sense? 17? Yeah. For our first 2 summers, she was playing in Seattle also. So it was perfect. It would be like, if we had a Saturday or Sunday game, ours would usually be, ironically, ours would be earlier. So we would play at like 2, and then I'd go to her game right after at like 5. It was like perfect.
That's
So the
awesome.
Tacoma thing, yeah, she actually commutes, which is like a 45-minute to an hour drive.
Yeah.
So it's been hard. I saw maybe one game last summer, and I was injured. It's like I wasn't even playing, and I still couldn't get to many games.
Yeah.
Same for her. So that now that the Tacoma part makes it a little more difficult.
Well, it's good that you don't have to, that you're not in competing seasons, or, God forbid, you in another city or whatever. So yeah. So Sue, are you still involved with the Denver Nuggets?
No, not officially.
Right.
I feel like they'll always be my homies, but no, not officially.
Okay, but that was kind of an interesting thing there for a little while, right?
That
you were, what did they call you? The basketball operations associate, I guess, right?
Associate, yeah. It was awesome. I got to be on the in, be in the meetings, watch how the front office in Denver worked. Got kind of like a taste of everything, which was, I mean, it was literally pulling back I got to see everything, and you don't really get that experience. So I was really thankful for that. And what basically happened was, this past year, so what ended up being like the next year, because it's leading into the Olympics, our national team decided to do these tours.
Yeah.
And so we did a college tour against college teams. We had Olympic qualifier games. All that to say, I just literally didn't have the time.
Right.
And it was kind of, what I thought it was going to be my Olympic run. So I had to like invest all my time into it. Now that got, pushed back a year, but
yeah, but it was a good taste for you. So what did you think of the whole front office thing? I mean, men's side, women's side doesn't really matter, but is that like in your future after you play, or what? What do you think?
Maybe. I mean, I'm definitely in no place to take anything off the table. I think, what stood out was, man, it's a lot of money. And man, there's a lot of bad players making a lot of money. But also, and you know what? Kudos to them.
Yeah.
Do you? But also, it's like, if you want to work in the NBA, there's a lot of players that you have to learn. So for me, I had to do like a quick catch up on that. Not just the players in the NBA.
Yeah.
You have to learn the G League guys, the overseas guys, the guys in college coming up. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
But I think if I were to like sum it all up, what I really took away was everybody's just trying to do their best, right? Like every GM in the league's trying to do their best. Everybody's trying to find a diamond in the rough. Everybody's trying to evaluate. You have to just have an opinion, right? Like make it an educated opinion. And then you just have to like stand by it, roll the dice, and see what happens. Like I learned that from Tim Connolly, who's the president. He was telling me stories of like, they drafted Jokic in the second round. Now look at him. Nobody would have thought that. So that was like a huge win. And then he told me stories of like, they passed up on Donovan Mitchell. They could have picked Donovan Mitchell. So that was a miss. And he's like, some of them are going to be hits. Some of them are going to be misses. You just got to go with your gut and let it play out. I was like, all right, that makes sense. Because if you second guess yourself, that's when things go bad.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I mean, I'd hate to be Portland, and when Michael Jordan was drafted, but that's a whole other story.
Well, Portland has a lot of those, sadly.
Yeah. I've had some great women athlete WNBA and professional women athletes on the podcast. Nancy Lieberman, of course, trailblazer.
Rockaway.
Rockaway.
Queens girl.
Right. Swin Cash, Tamika. More and more women are getting involved on the men's side. You're seeing the male players backing you guys more. I mean, it's so great for me to see that those lines are now, there's no line anymore. It's like, got women referees in the NBA. It's like a given. That's got to be really, I guess, good for you to see, how vocal you guys have been with equality in sports and pay and workplace and all that. I just have to preface all that by saying that my wife has been a longtime Title IX coordinator. I have 3 daughters, so everything.
You're in the front lines.
Yes. So this is a topic that is very much at our dinner table all the time. So do you see a woman coaching in the NBA, head coaching? I mean, I guess Becky Hammon might be the next first in line,
Yeah, she definitely seems to be on the path.
Yeah.
The way I see it is, we have these women who are getting the opportunity now to be in the NBA. And from my vantage point, what it is you have a lot of women who played professional basketball a long time and who have coached professional basketball a long time. Obviously, the names off the top of your head are going to be Becky Hammon.
Mm-hmm.
Another one who didn't have a playing career but had a coaching career is Jenny Busek, who's with Dallas as an assistant. So you just have, I feel like now the WNBA is 20, I think 3 or so years old, and so you have these players and coaches with just like all this experience,
Mm-hmm.
all this knowledge, and now they're finally getting like tapped into this pool of people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're clearly the other thing I learned about being in Denver, they're not just given jobs to give jobs. Like these are competitive jobs. These are like, cutthroat, if you will, scenarios where you got to perform or else you lose your job. Mm-hmm. So no front office is going to hire a coach if they don't think it's going to help them win.
Right.
So with all that being said, mm-hmm. right now with women in the game, I do think we're like knocking on the door, especially Becky,
mm-hmm.
for someone to be a head coach.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is, I think at some point it'll come back around where it's like, if someone wants to be in the NBA and coach, they're going to
mm-hmm.
have that opportunity. But if
mm-hmm.
somebody wants to stay in the WNBA, because that's what speaks to them, they're going to have that opportunity as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to see that now men have had that option kind of all along. If they
mm-hmm.
wanted to coach in the WNBA, they could.
Yeah.
If they want to be in the NBA, they could. So now women are starting to have all these options.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just a matter of time before someone's
mm-hmm.
a head coach, 100%.
Yeah, I think it would be awesome personally. You both have been so vocal in terms of with everything having to do with the CBA and the WNBA. Megan, of course, was very out front and vocal with the Women's World Cup team, and getting equal pay or getting pay that was at least fair to you guys.
Yeah.
How groundbreaking do you feel that the new CBA is for the women in the WNBA? I mean, the fact that you guys don't have to go to Europe to play anymore or out overseas, I mean, that's one thing, but can you just talk through that just a little bit about how important that was?
Yeah, it's major.
Mm-hmm.
It's major. The quick recap would just be, I think for a long time, we just had a lot of CBAs that didn't really represent our league and the difficulties that we face. Difficulty might not be the right word, but like you just said, a lot of us play overseas in Europe, and there's just, it's a different sports league than any other.
Yeah.
So, but our CBA didn't really represent that. The opportunities within the CBA didn't, the money, so it just wasn't. So now what this CBA did was basically like create a whole new framework, a whole new groundwork.
Yeah.
So we all joke, I hope this is going to be like the CBA before the CBA, like the next CBA can be like off the charts, because this one really set us up for success.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we needed it. We needed something new. We needed something that represented us, like our talent and what we're doing on the court. That product is like next level. It's never been better. And we needed a CBA that matched that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the best part, all in all, to bring it back around, is we just had a group of women, our players, those of us on the executive committee, who kind of like, we knew where our value was, and we weren't going to back down. And that's what you're seeing with Megan and her national team's fight as well.
Right. Yeah, we had Shanae Agumake on a couple of weeks ago, and she's of course on the executive committee with her sister, who's the president, I guess, and she spoke very eloquently, just like you. Obviously, the dollars are driven in the NBA by the broadcast money and all the properties revenue and all that. So I think it's safe to say we might not ever see women making the same as men. It's just the nature of the beast. But the fact that the respect level, right, and the fact that this is the CBA before the next CBA, it sets the table. I think that's wonderful, and good for you for pushing that forward, because as a father with daughters and caring a lot about what happens to her as she gets older, my little one, and equal opportunity and all that, not just in sports but across the board. I mean,
across the board,
women still making 80 cents to the dollar of what men make, and that's just wrong. So it takes somebody like you and what you guys are doing to really get that out there as an issue. Like you said, women are hot right now. Women's issues are hot, right?
They are hot. Thankfully. We'll take it.
So
it's been cold for too long.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I wanted to talk about a couple more issues that are important to you guys. Most recently, I saw that you and Megan are promoting the Hunger Not Impossible cause, which I'd like to say that we donated to. right? Because
Nice.
I
Thank
thought it
you.
was fantastic. How is that going? Because I know that was starting off in a couple of cities.
Yeah.
Is there any news on that?
Updates? Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, I wish I'm not prepared because, like, with every day, every week that goes by, we
Yeah.
actually, every time we go live on Saturday night, we
Hmm.
give a quick update on like where the numbers are, how it's
Hmm.
looking. So I
Yeah.
forget off the top, but yeah, we started off. It was like a cool way to both give and basically what it does is you essentially donate. You can do it. It's so
Hmm.
easy, and you're basically donating meals, like meals
Right.
that are going to go directly into kids' mouths.
Yeah.
So um,
Hmm.
it's kind of almost like, for lack of a better comparison, ice buck challenge ish, in that we wanted to like pass it to people,
Yeah.
and then those people donate and pass it to another person, maybe a friend or maybe, some
Hmm.
sort of, public figure where it kind of, so now, and it's starting to branch out into different cities. So we definitely, we're kind of Seattle centric at first,
Hmm.
but actually, Caruso from the Lakers, Alex,
Yeah.
he just posted about it. So it's
Oh,
in
did he?
LA, and it's, yeah,
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, NECA in Houston. So it's
Yeah.
definitely branching out, and the numbers look great. Again, I don't have them
Hmm.
off the top, but
Hmm.
it's feeding kids, and obviously we're in a situation right now where
Yeah.
that's not only needed, but for Megan and I both, any way that we can help, we were just going to try to do that.
No, I love that. I think it's great. And however we can help with promoting it on social media, whatever, we will.
Okay,
Um,
thanks.
I was really intrigued by the whole cannabis thing with Mendy, by the way.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why, because I went to Seattle, my wife and I went to visit our friends, and we were in the market, and there's like 900 different CBD vendors there, which really was
Yeah.
kind of bizarre. But I have a bad back, and I've had one for
Oh,
years, and somebody really eloquently told me how this would help me, and I got it. It
yeah.
actually helps, and I love it.
Okay. Awesome.
So yeah, so your involvement with that is what,
Yeah.
as a spokesperson, but you use it
Yeah.
yourself, of course, right?
Yeah. So yes, I am a spokesperson.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually Megan's twin sister's company.
Oh, okay.
Her and some of her friends slash, like cohorts
Yeah,
started it.
yeah.
And I think the best things about it are pretty quick and neat. First of all, it's just CBD.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no THC in it. And as an
Mm-hmm.
athlete, that you have to make, that's like a very important distinction,
Yeah,
because when it comes to drug testing, it can get very complicated for an athlete.
of course.
I will say that
Mm-hmm.
if I'm in certain seasons, there's different rules for the WNBA. There's different rules for the Olympics. For the Olympics, CBD is actually legal.
Oh, oh,
I know, which happened about 2-3 years ago, which is
yeah.
pretty groundbreaking in its own right. So anyways,
Hmm.
yeah, CBD for me personally, there's like a topical that you can rub on. So if your
Yeah,
elbow's hurting, you rub it
right.
on your neck. And then
Yeah.
you can take it orally, like there's a gummy, and those, so the topical I'll use like if my knee hurts,
Mm-hmm.
I'll rub that on there. Or to your point, my back, I'll use it on my
Yeah,
back and my neck.
yeah.
But then the one I take by mouth, that's to just go to sleep. And the best part is it's not gonna like knock you out.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make you feel groggy on the other end either. It's just
Yeah.
something that helps with your sleep.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's just like this accompaniment that kind
Yeah.
of gives some deep Z's.
Yeah, I got to look into that a little more, because that's one of my problems is insomnia, and I've gone
Oh,
back and
this could
forth
really help you.
with Ambien and all kinds of crap,
Uh,
and who needs it?
See, yeah, like
Yeah.
I'll be, especially when I travel to Europe for like
Mm-hmm.
my overseas stuff, that first week, it
Mm-hmm.
can be tough trying to adjust because you're
Yeah.
practicing, you're playing in games, you're trying
Right.
to sleep. So
Yeah.
I've done the whole like Advil PM or even NyQuil, and
Yeah.
I feel groggy in the morning. It
Yeah.
just gives me like a lull that I don't like.
Yeah. No,
And this, in my experience, doesn't do it. And you
yeah.
also don't get high. I feel like people think
Yeah.
they hear
Right.
cannabis
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, how high do you get? I'm like,
Right.
CBD, you would
Yeah.
have to take so much to get high the way we consider. That's like a THC thing.
Right. Right. I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had Ricky Williams, the former NFL player, on the podcast
Yeah.
early, and he's a huge he's like one of the earliest
I
guys to get
remember.
into it.
Yeah. I
And
remember.
it shocked me, actually, because I didn't know all this stuff, but I love the therapeutic part of it. I mean, I really do.
Yeah.
I put it on my back before every game, because you know how I sit on the floor, and
Yeah.
I'm an old guy, and it takes a while to get up and all that
You
stuff.
got that
So
cool little chair though, no?
yeah, there you go. Right. Hey, I gotta ask you, as a photographer, okay?
Okay.
I gotta ask you about the ESPN Body Issue, because
Okay.
first of all, I wouldn't have the guts to to be the photographer for that.
Fair at all?
Yeah. Well,
to be the photographer.
No, to be the photographer. I mean, it's just like,
Okay.
I mean, kudos to both of you guys for doing that. I mean, first of all, the first same-sex couple on the cover, right? Ever.
Yeah.
And I mean, what was that day like? I'm just curious. How was that all done? Was there like a lot of wine involved? I mean, was there?
No. It's like actually in the morning because it's like an all-day thing.
Yeah.
No. So here's what I'll say. Well, Megan had done it before.
Yeah.
I think she's like the only two-timer. So she had done it before. So she knew exactly what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, maybe if I was younger, but like, I think I was 30. It's only a couple years ago. So probably like 37. I mean, the amount of teams and locker rooms and, showers that I've had to take, it's like, I'm so numb to being naked around people. And don't get me wrong, a locker room with your team is not the same as strangers with video cameras and and cameras like constantly snapping.
Yeah.
But at some point you just kind of like, in a locker room, at some point you just get numb to it, you tune it out. And so I felt that was very similar. Like I was like, all right, whatever, this is like, it's all a job for everyone, so let's just do this. And then once that robe comes off, you're just kind of like, it's almost easier to keep it off. You're just like, all right, let's go, next one.
It was beautiful because the photo they chose, you guys just looked like you were so happy. I mean, you really did. You were super relaxed. I thought it was beautiful. So well
Thank
done.
you. I appreciate
Amazingly. So the last thing I want to talk about is some memories and things about Kobe. And as you know, Kobe and I go back to his rookie year, and still can't process this tragedy of he and Gigi. I just I have times I wake up in the middle of the night, just can't believe it. And I'm sitting here in my office. I got, stuff about him and photos in front of me and all over, reminders. Do you have one story you could tell all of us about your relationship with him and what he meant to you personally, or what he meant overall to women's basketball and women's sports? I mean, I know that's a big question.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
so as far as a quick story, I've told like a bunch. I'm trying to think of like a different one to give you. I think what's something that always stood out. So the story I've told most times is my first glimpse into like Kobe, the Mamba mentality, like really like seeing it firsthand. He was literally sitting like right next to me, was at the 2008 Olympics. And I've told this story where basically we were just there was like 4 or 5 of us hanging out playing cards, and we had this player lounge at the Olympics in the hotel. So it was just players. And at that point, like I said, 4 or 5 of us. And we were drinking some wine, just kind of chilling, very relaxed. And he opens up a newspaper, and it was right after they had lost to the Celtics, like kind of, in like tragic form, if you will.
Huge.
So
Yeah.
So it's a picture of Paul Pierce, and he like cuts that picture out. He folds it up. He like puts it in like whatever pocket he had, and he just looks at us because we're looking at him, and he's just like, motivation. And he was dead serious. It wasn't even like a joking thing. It was just like, and that was my first. I was like, whoa, like this is like, I don't know. There was just something about the look on his face and the way he said it. Another story from that Olympics that I love, it's very quick, is everywhere we went, and this team has, LeBron James, D Wade. But those are probably 2 of the bigger names, and then obviously Kobe. Everywhere that I was around them, mostly like at opening ceremonies, walking around. I mean, this guy could not go anywhere without people chanting his name.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
It was incredible. And you have LeBron and D Wade and all these guys standing right next to him. And it was just like, Kobe. That was another glimpse of like, whoa, he's like larger than life. I mean, I already knew it, but to see it.
Unbelievable. LeBron had a quote actually after that Olympics and said, I thought I was big in China until I went there with Kobe.
I've never even seen that quote. 100%. That was all of our takes. We were like, holy crap. And then just as far as his impact on women's basketball goes, it actually, because obviously, with him, passing away, same with Gigi, like how it happened, how sudden, how tragic. It took a second for me to really process. Because I think his impact on women's basketball was happening, but it was happening. So you weren't really thinking about it. You were just like, oh, cool, there's Kobe at a WNBA game. Oh, cool, there's Kobe with a WNBA sweatshirt on. Like, this has a lot of meaning. But it wasn't until weeks, maybe months later, where it kind of hit me. And I was just like, man, and I said this recently during the WNBA draft, I was just like, I think what he saw in Gigi was a kid who was just a kid like he was, who like loved basketball, wanted to learn, wanted to like grind, wanted to work.
Yeah.
But what he also saw was the path for her was gonna be bumpy and rocky, because for a women's basketball player, it is.
Yeah.
You know, you have to like prove yourself in all these different ways.
Sure.
You know, it's not the same as men's basketball. And I think he was on this journey through Gigi that was going to change the landscape of women's basketball, because he wanted that for his daughter. And then what that was going to do was, it was going to trickle down onto us, like whether he meant it to or not, it was. But also he was taking Gigi out and he was showing her great women's basketball, and he was showing her just great athletes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's how many pictures, I'm sure you have taken many of them, where he'd be like, hey, Luka Doncic, come take a picture with my daughter.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. Megan and I at the WNBA All-Star game this year in Vegas, you know, he was just like, hey, you too, can you take a picture with Gigi? I was like, yeah, of course. He just wanted her to be exposed to all this greatness. And like I said, it was gonna impact all of us.
Yeah.
Which it did. It has. It continues. It will continue to.
And the fact that she was destined, it looked like, to go to UConn. How cool!
I know.
How cool would that have been? Yeah.
I think my favorite was reading about how she was like tore up when UConn lost in the Final Four.
Right.
And she was just like, Dad, that'll never happen once I go there.
Oh,
I love
God.
that part. That was very sweet.
It was beautiful. Well, Sue, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. And
thanks for having me.
It's been a real thrill for me. I mean, when you said yes, that you would do this, I called a lot of people, but I was really, really happy. So thanks so much. And, you know, I hope there's some semblance of some kind of season.
Something.
Maybe pick up games like in the driveway or something. I don't know, whatever. But I hope we both go back to work at some point in the near future, and really just, you know, enjoy this time, I guess, as much as you can. Stay in shape, and you know, I'll see you on the court at some point soon. I hope.
I hope. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Sue.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Okay. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, thanks everyone for checking out this classic episode with the great Sue Bird. We wish Sue the best of success for her 19th and final season in the WNBA with the Seattle Storm. She has nothing left to prove, but maybe a 5th WNBA championship will be a fitting way for her to leave the game. We'll see. Even so, I'll still pull out those photos I shot of her when she was an 11-year-old dynamo back in the day. I know she loves them, even though it embarrasses her to death. Thanks, as always, to my producer and head researcher, Veronica Ahn. Remember, folks, you can find us on the iHeart app and online, as well as Apple and Spotify and your favorite podcast platform. So keep following us on Instagram at Legends of Sport, our Twitter at Legends_of_Sport, our website, legendsofsport.net, and our YouTube and TikTok channels, Legends of Sport. My photography can be found on Instagram and Twitter at ADB Photo Inc. So, folks, we'll be back next week with another great episode and another great guest. Until then, stay safe and stay well.